Bold and the Beautiful, early weekly spoiler, Feb 23 to 27. I was thinking about what's coming up on Bold and the Beautiful this week, and things are definitely heating up. From what I can see, Katie Logan is about to panic, and Ivy Forrester is going to lash out, and it all seems to revolve around Will Spencer. As usual, let's start with the rest of this week before we peek ahead to next week. Wednesday, February 18th. We pick up right after Tuesday's episode, where Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester discover all those sketches scattered in the Forrester living room. Ridge is grilling Eric Forrester, and naturally, things get tense. But then Katie and Bill Spencer show up, and they drop a massive bombshell. Eric is actually the mystery designer Katie hired. I think Ridge is going to be furious. My gut tells me Eric was planning to keep this secret a little longer, maybe even deny it. But with Katie and Bill stepping in, the truth comes out, and it's a game changer. Meanwhile, Liam Spencer seems determined to spill the beans despite Bill's warnings. He tells Hope Logan that Eric is Katie's designer. I kind of expected Liam to let it slip eventually, but now everyone is about to be in the know, and Hope is going to be stunned. This revelation could spark total chaos for both the Spencer and Forrester families. Hope's in a tricky spot. She's got one foot in the Forrester camp with her mom, Brooke, and the other in the Spencer camp with her husband. Plus, Donna Logan is already on edge about Eric's breathing issues. I'm curious if she's going to tell Ridge and the others about Eric's health, though I wouldn't be surprised if Eric shuts her down. He's been secretive about his health before, and I feel like he'll insist she stay quiet. Thursday, February 19th. Things escalate even further. The showdown continues in the Forrester living room with Brooke, Donna, Bill, and Katie looking horrified as Ridge and Eric go at it. Ridge lashes out after Bill and Katie reveal Eric's secret. Eric defends himself, insisting he can still design, while accusing Ridge of trying to take this away from him. I can see Ridge snapping back, saying he's done with the back and forth. He might even tell Eric he needs to quit and make a pointed remark to Katie and Bill about not letting them kill his dad. This confrontation is intense, and tensions run high. Amid the argument, Eric's stress spikes. He starts gasping for air, and Bill rushes to help while Ridge yells to call 911. I'm not sure if Eric will accept medical help. He's never been one to discuss his health freely. There's a spoiler photo I saw, though I can't show it, that looks like Ridge and Eric are alone in a bedroom at the mansion, with Eric rebuttoning his distinctive brown vest under a blue jacket. My guess? Either the EMTs never showed up, or Eric retreated to try and calm down on his own. But this is a red flag. Eric clearly needs care, and like with his previous cancer scare, he might still be hiding more about his health. Then on Friday, February 20th, we pick back up with some of the other storylines. And this week, it's all about Dylan and Will at his beach house, just the two of them. And of course, they're hugging again. I get the sense Dylan is there to comfort Will after Electra walked out. You know, the classic pat on the back, try not to cry scenario. I imagine they'll be talking about Electra Forrester's ultimatum, but at the same time, Will is probably stressing that Dylan can't live in her car. And he's right, it's not safe. There's no shower, no bathroom, no kitchen. Basically, it's survival mode. Meanwhile, RJ Forrester is back in town this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him and Electra in scenes together. I can totally see Ivy scheming to nudge RJ and Electra closer, just to make sure she doesn't go running back to Will. Meanwhile, Electra's boyfriend is doing his best to talk her out of walking away. And Will is stuck in the showroom at Forrester Creations, telling her that everything was fine until Ivy came along and ruined it. And of course, Electra's aunt is snooping again, because why wouldn't she be? If Will sees her eavesdropping, he's probably going to lose it. Remember, he's still annoyed that Ivy was lurking outside, peeping in windows like a spy instead of just knocking like a normal person. Electra, as usual, tries to get Will to see her perspective. She's asking him to imagine how he'd feel if she had a guy living with her. And honestly, that's a fair question. It's a complicated situation, and we're going to see plenty more of both of them hashing out their relationship problems, sometimes together, sometimes spilling to other people. Over at the Forrester mansion, things are heating up with Eric. Unless someone convinces him to go to the hospital, we'll see him confessing a lot to Ridge and Brooke. I think he's going to explain his reasons for going to Logan, and he may even open up about the health issues he's been dealing with. Eric already admitted to Donna that he's having second thoughts about the Logan position, but he's determined not to let Kaite down. So I think he's digging in his heels. Classic Eric. If Ridge hadn't gone and thrown that surprise retirement party, none of this drama would even exist. But nope, he set all this in motion himself. We should get some answers soon about Eric's health, and whether anyone, Donna, Ridge, Kaite, can get him to stop designing. Of course, Ridge is going to push back, insisting that this proves he was right to force Eric into retirement. The week of February 23rd through the 27th is the last week of sweeps, and things are intense. Electra's heart is breaking, and RJ might see this as his opportunity. Ivy will be pressing Electra not to cave in, making sure Will can't just talk his way out of it. Kaite might bring Deke Sharp into Logan if Eric insists on staying so he has some support. It's a lot for Eric, doing all this design work solo when he used to have a full team at Forrester. Everyone, Ridge, Donna, Kaite, Brooke, even Bill, is worried about Eric's health. Ridge remains firm. Eric has to step away from Logan. And apparently, word will get out that Eric is the designer behind the scenes that Logan's been teasing in their PR, which will only add tension, especially between Kaite and Brooke. Kaite doesn't want to risk Eric's health, but Brooke and Ridge are relentless, criticizing her for starting her own company. They're convinced Bill talked her into it, and now it's all a disaster. Honestly, we all know Ridge is the worst, right? On the beach house front, Will and Dylan are getting closer, and I could see Will convincing Dylan to stay there until she can afford an apartment. She has a job at Il Giardino now, and maybe Deacon can help her snag one of the little apartments above the pizza place. Meanwhile, Donna is terrified she could lose Eric, and will continue pressuring him to step back from Logan. Will might even consider jumping over to Spencer or Logan, but after everything with Ivy, that's going to be tricky. So yeah, it's a jam-packed week full of emotional confrontations, secret scheming, and people tiptoeing around their hearts. To me, the drama isn't just about who's right or wrong, it's about who's willing to fight for what they want, even if it hurts everyone around them. I think things are about to get really messy on The Bold and the Beautiful, and honestly, I was wondering how long it would take for this Will-Electra situation to completely explode. On The Bold and the Beautiful, the spoilers hint that Will Spencer could be headed for a shocking discovery just as his storyline starts heating up. And to me, the timing couldn't be more dramatic. Electra has made it clear she's done with Will after he refused to kick Melissa Dillon out of the beach house. But I don't think Will is anywhere near ready to let her go. He's planning another heartfelt plea, hoping he can fix what's broken. The problem is, I don't see Electra budging this time. Ever since she backed Ivy Forrester about Dylan's inappropriate behavior, Electra has felt like she needs to stand her ground. And maybe she's right. Or maybe this is one of those soap moments where pride pushes people further apart than the original problem ever did. Meanwhile, the friction between Will and Electra keeps building, especially with Will continuing to defend Dylan. And I can't help but think that tension is exactly what's going to push Electra straight into RJ Forrester's arms. From the second RJ locked eyes with Electra Forrester, there was something there. You could feel it. Now that she's officially dumped Will, I think it's only a matter of time before that connection turns into a full-blown romantic moment. A first kiss feels inevitable. And let's be honest, this is a soap. What would make it even more explosive? If Will witnesses it, I can totally picture RJ and Electra locking lips while Will stands frozen in a doorway, watching his world crumble. Maybe I'm wrong, but it would be classic soap storytelling. The slow burn, the secret connection, and then the devastating reveal. And then there's Ivy. I wouldn't put it past her to accidentally orchestrate the moment, so Will gets a front row seat to Electra moving on. Especially after what she saw between Will and Dylan. If Ivy truly believes RJ is the better match, she might subtly nudge her niece in that direction and make sure Will feels the consequences. If that happens, Electra and RJ's bond could grow even stronger in the weeks ahead. And Will? He may be forced to sit back and watch the woman he still loves fall for someone else. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Dylan isn't going anywhere. In fact, I think she's waiting patiently in the wings, ready to comfort Will when his heart breaks. She clearly wants him for herself, and this could be her perfect opportunity. The question is whether Will see her as more than just a rebound, or if he'll cling to Electra no matter what. At the same time, Dylan remaining in RJ's orbit adds another layer of drama. To me, that signals more tangled emotions and shifting loyalties ahead. So yes, I believe Will is heading straight for heartbreak. But in true soap fashion, that heartbreak may just be the beginning of an even bigger romantic shakeup. Wow! I honestly thought we were finally getting the storyline the bold and the beautiful fans have been begging for, and then, just like that, it felt like the rug was pulled out from under us. I don't know if it was a last-minute rewrite or just a tease that went sideways, but to me, something clearly shifted behind the scenes. For years, viewers have wanted a true rival fashion house to rise up and challenge the bold and the beautiful's powerhouse, Forrester Creations. So when Bill suddenly gifted Kaite her own label after that impromptu wedding, I was genuinely excited. I think a lot of us were. It felt like we were heading back to the golden era of runway wars, high fashion, high stakes, and even higher family drama. Everything was lining up perfectly. Ridge pushing Eric toward retirement, Kaite and Brooke clashing over the Logan name. And then that delicious twist, Eric secretly signing on to design for Kaite's new venture. I was already imagining the moment of revelation, the big runway show, the gasp in the room. Ridge and Brooke absolutely stunned when they realized that the mystery designer was none other than Eric. To me, that would have been poetic justice. Kaite proving the doubters wrong. Eric reclaiming his creative fire. A full-blown fashion war that would test loyalty, ego, and legacy. It had all the ingredients to be iconic. I was ready for the showdown of the decade. And then, it just fizzled. Somewhere along the way, the energy shifted. Bill, who had been championing Kaite with unwavering faith, suddenly turned into a deadline-obsessed tyrant, barking at Eric about production schedules. I found myself wondering, where did that confidence go? This is Dollar Bill, the man who would spare no expense when it comes to winning. In what universe would he suddenly pinch pennies over fabric, especially when going up against the very family that wronged his wife? It didn't track. Even more jarring was Eric's abrupt decline. One week, he was vibrant, inspired, overflowing with ideas. The next, gasping for breath over his sketches, doubting his ability to finish. I may be wrong, but it felt less like organic storytelling and more like a narrative pivot. And just like that, the dream of a fashion house war went up in smoke. Instead of a dramatic runway reveal, we got a living room confession. Ridge and Brooke stumbling upon Eric's sketches and trying to claim them for themselves irritated me more than it shocked me. Yes, there was a small spark of satisfaction when Kaite revealed that Eric was working with her, but it wasn't the jaw-dropping, knee-buckling moment I'd imagined. Not even close. What makes it harder is that we've been here before. It feels like only yesterday that Finn miraculously saved Eric during his last health crisis. Now we're circling the same drain again. And I have to say, fashion house war? That's hot. Another health scare? Not so much. And let's be honest about what's likely coming next. Kaite will probably be blamed for Eric's condition by Ridge and Brooke, even though Eric is a grown man capable of making his own decisions. I can already hear the accusations forming. To me, this could have been legendary, a true return to the soap's roots. Instead, it feels like we were handed a spark and then forced to watch it get smothered. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a twist coming that will reignite the fire. But right now, I can't help thinking about what could have been. I think the writing was on the wall the moment the bold and the beautiful had Eric start struggling with those quiet little moments of shortness of breath while working as Logan's lead designer. To me, that wasn't just a health beat, it felt like a signal. And when he admitted he missed Forrester Creations, when he actually said it out loud, and Donna gently reminded him he couldn't keep working under Kaite forever, I didn't realize how quickly it would all click into place. Maybe I was late to it, but suddenly it was obvious. The patriarch wasn't meant to stay away from the empire he built. This was always heading back home. As the week unfolds, John McCook explains that the story evolves into Eric and Ridge sitting down, really talking, apologizing, reflecting, and figuring out how to make things right. But I think what matters most is that Eric's return isn't just handed to him. It has to happen on his terms. That feels important. After everything, the power struggles, the pride, the heartbreak, Eric reclaiming his place has to be about dignity. And Ridge agrees. According to McCook, they would turn the page very quickly. Honestly, I was surprised by how fast it happened. One minute, I felt like we were settling into a long, simmering father-son war. Something layered and messy and painful. And the next, we were already cueing the reconciliation music. In my head, I was preparing for a drawn-out emotional crescendo, but instead we got resolution at full speed. Maybe I'm wrong, but part of me loved the conflict. There was something raw and real about watching Eric and Ridge at odds. That generational tension, the clash between legacy and control, it's classic soap opera DNA. And yet, there's also something deeply satisfying about seeing them find their way back to each other. Thorsten Kaye seems to understand that perfectly. He points out that any time you put Eric and Ridge in a scene together, it just works. It's relatable. We're all fathers and sons in some way, he says. And he's right. That dynamic, pride, resentment, admiration, unconditional love, it hits universally. Kaye even acknowledges Ridge hasn't always treated his father well. I mean, if we start unpacking the whole Brooks situation, that's a documentary in itself. But what stands out to me is Kaye's insistence that no matter what's written on the page, Ridge's love for Eric is never in doubt. That's the anchor, and honestly, I believe him. There's something powerful about hearing an actor admit that the chemistry matters, that working with someone you genuinely care about elevates the material. Kaye says any story he gets to do with McCook is better. And maybe that's why, even when the show moves quickly, maybe too quickly, the emotional core still lands. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about fashion wars or boardroom takeovers. To me, it's about legacy. It's about a father stepping back into the house he built, not as a rival, not as an afterthought, but as the man who started it all. And whether the story slows down or speeds up, that foundation is what keeps it meaningful. I've been watching The Bold and the Beautiful closely lately, and I have to say, I think the stars might be aligning for Miss Dillon and her dream guy, Will Spencer Jr., whether he has any clue about the future she's already mapping out for them or not. From where I'm sitting, Dillon's fixation on Electra Forrester's man is about to go from subtle to seriously unsettling. Now that Electra isn't hovering nearby, I was wondering if this is the opening Dillon has been waiting for. But here's the real question I keep circling back to. Is she actually in love, or is she trying to secure a future where she never has to sleep in her car again? Ever since the homeless art teacher showed up in Los Angeles a few months ago, it's been obvious, at least to me, that she's had her eyes locked on Will. And sure, he's handsome. I'm not blind. But I can't help thinking she might be just as attracted to the trust fund as she is to the abs. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but when you've been dumpster diving for dinner, stability probably looks just as good as romance. Dillon's down on her luck, and I didn't realize at first just how desperate her situation might be. Getting pregnant with a Spencer baby? That could flip her entire life overnight. In soap terms, that's not just a plot twist. That's a long-term financial strategy. But locking down Will Spencer Jr. may not be as easy as she thinks. Because despite everything, spoilers suggest Electra still has a strong hold on him. While Dillon's trailing behind him, hinting there are other fish in the sea, Will seems laser-focused on winning his girlfriend back. And that's where things get complicated. Let's not forget what happened at Il Giardino, the party where Luna Nozawa seduced Will and ended up pregnant. Dillon witnessed all of that. So I can't help but wonder, did she take notes? Would she really borrow a page from Luna's playbook? Maybe create a situation where Will's judgment is compromised? I don't know. But in this town, history has a way of repeating itself, especially when someone is desperate enough. Is Will about to spiral again? Could he end up blackout drunk and tangled in yet another life-altering mistake? And how far would Dylan actually go to secure a Spencer connection and potentially a child support check from Dollar Bill's son? To me, this feels less like a love story and more like a calculated gamble. But in true soap fashion, emotions and ambition tend to blur together. Maybe Dylan believes this is her fairy tale, or maybe she sees it as survival. Either way, I think we're headed straight for chaos, and I, for one, will be watching every second of it. As I look ahead to the week of February 23rd on The Bold and the Beautiful, I honestly think we're heading into one of those weeks where everything feels like it could fall apart at any second. There's excitement, yes, but there's also real danger, especially when it comes to Eric. After watching Eric Forrester struggle with his breathing, I can't help but feel uneasy. When he started having another episode, even while confiding in Donna Logan Forrester, it really hit me that this isn't something minor. To me, it feels like the pressure is physically catching up with him. And of course, when things spiral, blame follows. I think Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan Forrester are going to point fingers straight at Bill Spencer and Katie Logan Spencer. Bill pushing for a faster launch date may have seemed like standard business urgency. Time is money, and that's how he operates. But I didn't realize just how much that pressure might be worsening Eric's condition. When Ridge yells for someone to call 911, I was wondering if this could be the wake-up call everyone needs. Eric being rushed to the hospital would shift everything. Suddenly, deadlines and launch parties don't matter. Health does. What really stands out to me is Katie's position in all this. I believe she genuinely cares about Eric's well-being more than profits. She warned Bill about pushing too hard. But now, with Eric facing a health crisis, I think Donna will double down, urging him to step away from Katie's fashion house completely. That could put the entire venture at risk before it even officially launches. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I was thinking there could be a compromise. What if Deacon Sharp stepped in as the primary designer while Eric served as a mentor? It could preserve Eric's legacy without endangering his health. And honestly, that kind of transition could create its own drama. Meanwhile, I can't ignore what's brewing with Taylor Hayes and Deacon. I think Taylor trying to suppress her thoughts about him is only making things worse. At some point, restraint usually snaps, and if there's one person who would love to catch them slipping, it's Sheila. I have a feeling it's not a matter of if, but when she sees something she shouldn't. Then there's the younger crowd, and I have to say, this storyline intrigues me. Will Spencer continues letting Dylan get closer, even allowing her to stay at the beach house? But when Ivy Forrester questioned, "Who are you really, Dylan?" that stuck with me. To me, that felt like a warning disguised as curiosity. Is Dylan manipulating her way into Will's life? I think there's more going on beneath the surface. And if Will keeps his guard down, it might open a door for RJ Forrester. I was wondering, could RJ unexpectedly win over Electra Forrester while all the attention is elsewhere? Soap twists often happen when we least expect them. Overall, I feel like this week is about pressure. Emotional pressure, romantic pressure, and literal health pressure. Some characters may crack under it. Others might surprise us. And honestly, that's what keeps me watching. The Bold and the Beautiful, Friday, February 20th. Must-watch moments. I think Friday's episode is shaping up to be a real emotional roller coaster. Eric finally comes clean to Ridge, and both Electra and Will face some serious relationship drama on their own. Leading up to Christmas, Ridge decided it was time for Eric to retire from fashion. I didn't realize just how stubborn Eric could be. He flat out refused to step aside, insisting he still had plenty of creativity to give. But Ridge was determined, planning a retirement celebration that left Eric feeling sidelined and cut off from the world he'd built at Forrester Creations. Honestly, that forced exit seemed to hit Eric harder than anyone expected, and it cast a serious shadow over the holidays. Meanwhile, Katie found herself starting fresh after Bill gifted her a fashion house following their remarriage. To me, it made perfect sense that she'd want someone experienced to anchor this new venture. Enter Eric. He jumped in with both feet, pouring himself into sketches and reclaiming a sense of purpose that had been sidelined for far too long. Eric's role with Logan had to remain a secret, though, which added a tense, behind-the-scenes layer to everything. While Kaite and Brooke debated branding and strategy, Eric worked quietly on an entirely new collection. Eventually, Kaite chose Logan as the official company name, setting the stage for a big launch while keeping its biggest secret under wraps. As the debut approached, Bill ramped up the pressure, pushing Eric to speed up production so Kaite's team could bring the designs to life. The pace took its toll, and things reached a frightening point when Eric experienced a serious breathing episode. Donna rushing him to the hospital was intense. Up until then, Brooke and Ridge had no clue that Eric was the secret designer behind Logan. Liam eventually uncovered the truth and confided in Hope. And once Bill and Kaite confirmed it, the confrontation between father and son was inevitable, with consequences that could shake the Forrester family to its core. On the other side of town, Electra issued an ultimatum to Will about Dylan. Will wasn't having it, and predictably, Electra broke things off. I'm curious to see how that fallout will ripple through both their lives. There's definitely more drama brewing here. On The Bold and the Beautiful, February 16th episode, Ridge discovered that Eric has been under a lot of stress lately. At first, it seemed puzzling. After all, Eric had supposedly retired. But as it turns out, he secretly agreed to become Kaite's lead designer. The question now is the job itself overwhelming him, or is something else behind this tension? Eric's retirement came at the insistence of Ridge and Brooke, who genuinely thought stepping back was best for his health. But Eric isn't ready to hang up his sketchpad. He still dreams of designing, even imagining his next collection gracing the red carpet. When Kaite offered him the role at her new fashion house, Logan, he jumped at the chance, eager to reclaim the creative energy he once had at Forrester Creations. However, it hasn't been smooth sailing, especially with Bill in the mix. For reasons that are all too familiar, Bill seems determined to have the final say on Kaite's debut collection. On February 16th, Bill pushed Eric to rush the launch, but Eric immediately realized that the designs were all wrong. "Everything is wrong with them," he declared, sending the team back to the drawing board. This meant long nights of sketching at home, and it didn't go unnoticed. Donna could see that Eric was stressed, worried that the pressure might be getting to him. Ridge, meanwhile, is about to uncover Eric's secret. He'll argue that the new job is proof that Eric should have stayed retired. After all, stress seems to follow him no matter what. But here's the twist. Eric is in his element. Designing is where he thrives. So what's really at play here? Is it Bill's pressure on the collection? Ridge's insistence that Eric retire? Or the secret itself, quietly gnawing at him? Eric isn't naive. He knows this could stir conflict within his family, which is why he kept it under wraps in the first place. But he also wants to show Ridge, and maybe himself, that he's still at the top of his game. The question is, can he maintain that balance, or will the pressure finally catch up with him? I've been thinking about The Bold and the Beautiful lately, and honestly, Bill still doesn't get the fashion world. He keeps calling seasoned designers like Eric and Ridge dressmakers, yet somehow he thinks he should have the final say at Kaite's fashion house. To me, that's just mind-boggling. On the Monday, February 16th episode, you could really see the tension. Bill told Eric he needed to deliver Logan's debut collection ahead of schedule, completely ignoring that fashion isn't just about deadlines, it's about vision, creativity, and craft. All Bill saw were dollar signs. And honestly, that's where the problem lies. He isn't a designer. He doesn't understand the years of dedication that Eric and Ridge have poured into their work. Yet he mocks them, reducing their life's work to dressmaking. I can't help but wonder, shouldn't Kaite be the one calling the shots? After all, it's her fashion house. Bill gifted it to her when they married, but ever since, he's been pulling the strings. To me, it seems like Kaite is letting him take over, and that's frustrating for anyone invested in her career. Fans on Reddit are noticing it too. There's a thread ironically titled "The Problem with Eric Forrester," but many argue the real issue is Bill. One poster suggested that Eric deserves storylines that actually showcase his talent, not just his health scares or retirement plans. Another fan pointed out, "Why is Bill so involved? I thought this was Kaite's project. She's way too tolerant of him butting in." Classic Bill, right? Another fan added, "He's being his typical controlling self. He knows business but not fashion. Sadly for Kaite, everything is run by Bill since he's footing the bill." Someone else joked, "Now he wants to be the dressmaker?" And another nailed it. "You can't expect a couture line while buying cheap fabric without consulting your designers. Bill is undermining the entire Logan brand. Bring in talent, like Deke, or even Hope, and get her away from Steffi." Honestly, I was hoping Kaite would finally let Deke step in and show off his fashion chops, but he's been overlooked again. It makes me wonder, will Kaite ever reclaim her fashion house from Bill's control? Or is he going to keep calling the shots while calling designers dressmakers? This storyline has me torn. Am I overthinking it, or is Bill really the biggest problem at Logan? Electra Forrester is officially single again on The Bold and the Beautiful, and honestly, I think she has no one to blame but herself. The confident Forrester dropped an ultimatum on her boyfriend, Will Spencer Jr., and he chose the homeless art teacher living in his garage. I have to wonder, did Electra really think this would go her way? This week on The Soap, we'll see Electra starting to have second thoughts. Adjusting to single life is never easy, and I think the sting of regret is about to hit her hard. Did she really give up one of the hottest men under 30 in Los Angeles because he wouldn't make Dylan sleep in her car? Electra was so quick to issue that ultimatum, and I get it. She thought Will would side with her. But come on, there were way more realistic ways to handle Dylan. There's literally a homeless shelter on almost every block in LA. Making him crash in a garage shouldn't have been the deal breaker. Fans have noticed that Dylan and Will Spencer were spending way too much time together. Now that Electra is out of the picture, it's almost like she's cleared the way for them to bond even more. I mean, Dylan isn't going to sit around moping over Will's breakup. She's probably going to make sure he stays busy. And let's be honest, she's happy to offer him a shoulder to cry on. According to spoilers, Electra will soon realize she basically handed Will to Dylan on a silver platter. But don't worry, her cousin, RJ Forrester, is reportedly going to distract her from all the drama with her ex. So the big question I've been thinking about is this: will Dylan and Will actually take things to the next level, or will they at least wait a week after his breakup? And really, did Electra push her ultimatum too far? Or was she completely justified? To me, it feels like one of those classic bold and beautiful moments where the consequences come faster than you expect. And the drama is only getting started. The Bold and the Beautiful. February 19th, 2026. Eric versus Ridge explodes. I was honestly not ready for the chaos that's about to hit the Forrester family. So, Ridge Forrester just found out that Eric, yes, Eric, has become Kaite Logan's lead designer. And Ridge? He's seeing red. To him, Eric betraying the family by working with the competition is the ultimate sin. A retirement, apparently, was non-negotiable, at least in Ridge's mind. I can kind of see Ridge's point. Eric has been the cornerstone of Forrester Creations for decades, but to me, it's also hard not to get why Eric would jump at the chance to keep designing. The man's passion isn't something you just retire like last season's lookbook, and when Eric fires back, insisting he won't be pushed aside by his own son, you almost have to admire his stubbornness. Almost. But of course, this confrontation isn't going to stay in the boardroom. Just when things get heated, Eric clutches his chest pains, hospital emergency. And suddenly, the family's world flips upside down. I was thinking, of course, this is Bold and the Beautiful. Everything escalates. Meanwhile, Ridge is left reeling, not just over Eric's health, but over the fact that he couldn't control this situation. And you know Brooke Logan is quietly smug somewhere in the corner. I mean, she's always right, at least in her own mind. And if that weren't enough drama, there's the side note that Taylor Hayes is convinced she's in love with Deacon Sharp. Of all people. I didn't see that coming, but now I kind of do. This show loves a romantic twist. Honestly, what Ridge doesn't seem to get is that Eric isn't done yet. He still wants to create, to leave his mark. Helping Kaite get her company off the ground isn't betrayal. It's Eric living on his own terms. But Ridge can't see past his own anger, and that's exactly what makes this showdown so explosive. So what's next? Medical scares, family drama, and possibly a romantic quad brewing somewhere in the background. If I were Ridge or Brooke, I'd be bracing for impact, because Bold and the Beautiful never does anything quietly. To me, this storyline feels like the perfect storm: pride, passion, and a little bit of panic. Eric's health scare just ramps everything up, and Ridge might finally realize that controlling the Forrester legacy isn't as simple as he thought. I have a feeling this week is going to be unforgettable. And honestly, I'm here for it. The writers of The Bold and the Beautiful have really thrown us a curveball with the storyline about Eric stepping in as Logan's head designer. I mean, we all assumed he'd breeze through completing a collection without so much as a hiccup, right? But now, with stress starting to take a toll on his health, I can't help but wonder, what happens if he decides to bow out? Will Kaite turn to Deke to fill the role? Let's be real. Working with Bill Spencer is enough to give anyone a heart attack, let alone an 80-year-old man with a history of health issues like Eric. Bill doesn't care about Eric's insistence on the finest silk or the patience required to perfect a design. He only cares about the bottom line, hence the nickname Dollar Bill. And honestly, can we blame Eric for feeling stressed? Add in his age and previous health scares, plus the fact that he's never exactly been Bill's favorite person. It's a recipe for burnout. And to top it off, Eric clearly misses the world of Forrester Creations, surrounded by colleagues who actually appreciate him. Bill has never lifted a finger for Eric, so why would that change now? So, if the stress finally pushes Eric to step away from Logan, will Kaite turn to Deke as her next head designer? Over a month ago, we saw Kaite and Deke have a little heart-to-heart at Il Giardino. She was clearly impressed with his designs at Forrester Creations, and there was talk about whether his artistic vision would align with her goals at Logan. She ended the conversation with some encouraging words, hinting at a future collaboration. Naturally, we assumed Eric would mentor him, because, honestly, who wouldn't want to be guided by Eric Forrester? That would have been a dream scenario for Deke. But now, that mentorship seems like it might never happen. It makes me wonder, did Kaite even remember that conversation with Deke? Weeks have passed, and she's still scrambling to assemble a design team. Now that Eric's role is shaky, will she finally pick up the phone and call him? If she does hire Deke, though, there's another question. Can he handle Bill? Their personalities are total opposites. Deke is soft-spoken and easygoing, while Bill is blustery, demanding, and skeptical of anyone new. I can already hear Bill saying, "This kid just graduated from design school. Does he even know what it takes to compete with Forrester Creations?" And he wouldn't be entirely wrong. Deke's talent is promising, but can he shoulder the responsibility of leading a fashion house's design team? It's a huge challenge for someone still early in their career. All I know is, it's going to be fascinating to watch. If Kaite does give Deke the reins, will he rise to the occasion and blow everyone away with designs that no one in the fashion world has ever seen? Will Ridge and the rest of the crew be left speechless? B&B fans, it feels like Deke's moment to shine is finally on the horizon. And I, for one, am here for it. The drama on The Bold and the Beautiful is heating up as Taylor finds herself walking dangerous emotional lines with Deacon. Despite Steffi's repeated warnings, Taylor can't seem to shake the pull toward the man who once shattered their world. A secret encounter between them could ignite chaos, leaving Steffi furious and possibly pushing her to make a shocking move. Taylor is trying, honestly, she is, to keep her distance from Deacon. But every moment they share seems to weigh heavier on her heart. Their history lingers in quiet, unexpected corners, resurfacing when she least expects it and testing her resolve. To me, it feels like Taylor knows the risks, knows the hurt Deacon once caused, yet her heart stubbornly refuses to follow reason. That tension is like a magnet, pulling her closer to trouble with each passing day. The week of February 23rd, 2026, hints at a moment of vulnerability that could be impossible to contain. I wonder if this is the spark that draws Taylor and Deacon back together, creating a secret she won't be able to explain, one that could shatter the fragile balance she's been trying to maintain. Deacon senses her inner struggle, and it mirrors his own.